Diamond is solid, capable of piercing through mountains. Sincere words are the same. Very solid, capable of shattering the gloomy afflictions piled high as mountains in the human heart. Sincere words are like rain, returning to green the dry mountain peaks, awakening the season of wild flowers within the mountains. Sincere words are like a candle, filling a very cold and dark soul with warmth and light. There are those who, having heard a single sincere word, take a deep breath, brace their hands to stand up, and find themselves courageous enough to cross 100 mountains and 1,000 rivers. There are those who lean on a sincere word from another to stand up. There are those who lean on their own sincerity to rise. A person who still keeps sincerity in their heart will never lose their direction. Everyone has heard a sincere word, but not everyone has spoken one. People will not have enough courage to speak a sincere word when they do not yet strongly believe that such a word is like a bridge, spanning a wide river, the river of affliction, the river of suffering, the river of birth and death, so that you and others may cross over. And cross over. When beginning with deceit, it will end in regret. When beginning with sincerity, it will end in peace. Life is like a bunch of fragrant causa grass. Those who are clumsy and do not know how to hold it will have their hands cut. Life is very beautiful, but harsh. Like the causa grass, the light fragrance lies within leaves as sharp as thin blades. Those who do not know how to hold it will have their hands cut. For certain. What do you hear in sadness? When hearing the footsteps of someone returning to the void, never to return? What do you see in a parting? When looking at the road ahead, and knowing that someone has stopped? What do you think about wounds? When looking back and realizing that time has faded all of youth? And what do you know about the wounds on your own hands? Life is very beautiful, but harsh, actually. It is harsh because this life is beautiful, so that everyone wants to keep something for themselves. The wounds on human hands begin from there. That ocean may dry up, and the rains may fill it again, but the eyes of worldly people never know enough when standing before the forms and appearances of the human realm. While greed still remains, it turns out, the thing deeper and wider than the ocean out there is one's own eyes. When the heart still harbors greed, everyone has been moved by some form or appearance in the human realm. You have, I have. Everyone has made their feet tired from chasing, made their hands weary from holding on. But forms are impermanent. Can you catch them? Can you keep them? The fault is not with the eyes that saw. The fault is also not with the forms that unintentionally existed here. The fault is because the heart is not yet still. There are those moved by images of yesterday. There are those moved by the illusions of days yet to come. There are those moved by the image of a person, and then become sad. There are those moved by the silhouette of a 1,000-year-old mountain painted against the sky each morning, and then remain calm. There are those moved by emerald eyes in the human realm, and then ache for a lifetime. There are those moved by the very gentle eyes of the Buddha, and then find peace. There are those moved by magnificent, fleeting scenes of luxury. There are those moved by a simple, serene small temple at the end of the village. Worldly people always move toward what makes their hearts stir. Yet there are times of being stirred only to find peace. There are those who stand amidst matters of suffering and joy, whose minds are not swept away by those matters, who do not fear sadness, and do not crave joy. That person is one full of wisdom. Do not fear sadness, because in truth, to that person, what is more fearsome than the sadness being endured in the present is the days when the heart was still gloomy, causing them to accidentally sow unwholesome seeds into life, resulting in receiving long sadness today. Sowing unwholesome causes and receiving unhappy results. Which is more fearsome? There are those who feel fear as soon as they accidentally sow an unwholesome seed. Sow a harsh look into life. Sow an evil word into a person's heart. Or sow a gloomy thought into their own heart. There are those who only feel fear when they receive the unhappy result. Between these two types of people, everyone fears once, sooner or later, but there is one who knows how to use anxiety to end long sorrows. Do not fear sadness, because they know where that sadness began. Do not fear sadness, because they know how to end that sadness. Do not fear sadness, because they know that sadness will pass. Do not crave joy, because any joy will be lost. Whoever craves it more will suffer more. Lost happiness and past joys are always the greatest obstacles preventing worldly people from finding peace. Do not crave joy, because when craving present joy, it is like locking oneself into it. Then forgetting that the most important thing in the present is the wholesome seeds for joyful tomorrows. Unwholesome things are very easy to do, but bring no benefit to life. On the contrary, wholesome deeds are very difficult to do, but only those things make this life better. The road leading to storms is always very easy to travel. Just close your eyes and step, and you will arrive. The road leading to peace is always very difficult to travel, because one must gather all the courage and compassion in the heart to fill the depths and shallows of the worldly path, and walk through all the heartaches. Indifferent eyes watching the pain of others. Indifferent hands leaving people to stagger and fall into pieces. Indifferent feet walking through the wounds of others without a moment's hesitation. Living indifferently like that is very easy. But people cannot grow that way. And life cannot become better through such an indifferent way of living. But many people still choose this way because it is easy. Then one day, everyone only wants to smile at everyone, even those who once hurt them, to feel their own heart at peace for once. Then one day, when the heart is full of compassion, people will want to bow down to the heartaches around them, only wanting to speak very warm words, wanting to see people smile very peacefully, wanting to see people take a deep breath, stand up, and calmly walk on. On that day, being indifferent to life becomes a very difficult thing, and everyone will have that day. One cannot stay small, green, and sour forever. When one does not fear the results of suffering from unwholesome deeds, that person naturally creates many sins. Whether in peace or heartache, everyone must thank the good conditions of the past so that in the present they can still stand here as a human being, which is very hard to achieve. Why disregard those good conditions and destroy them with unwholesome deeds? When doing an unwholesome deed, do you ever think, I owe my yesterday an apology for having betrayed the good conditions of the past and forgotten the efforts of old, and I also owe my tomorrow an apology like that, for forcing my tomorrow to receive more anxiety? Is there such a thought? Everyone has yesterdays of great effort to walk through a sorrow in the present. Doing an unwholesome deed is forcing oneself to step into another sorrow. Everyone has yesterdays of great effort to cultivate a good thing in the present. Doing an unwholesome deed is erasing that good thing. Everyone has tomorrows full of uncertainty in the present. Doing an unwholesome deed is piling another sorrow onto tomorrow. What is stronger than mistakes is love. Because of loving others, one overlooks their mistakes. Because of loving oneself, one does not let oneself commit more mistakes. The impermanent world brings many fears to people. What is stronger than fear is also love. When existing in this world, who doesn't wish for a prosperous, happy life, with plenty of money to spend without worry? Therefore, many people plan for their lives to achieve that in this year or that year. However, no matter how detailed and careful the calculations, life does not entirely go according to what we have intended. We once hoped that by 30 we would have this or that, or by 40 we would have a fulfilled life. But often, looking around, we see many friends already have it while our hands are still empty. This leads to a state of boredom and disappointment in oneself. However, remember that each person has a different stage of success, or perhaps you have no great recorded success at all. Letting go of afflictions, you will certainly find life more worth living, but do not stop trying because of that. Even if all calculations become meaningless and do not follow the plan, we must still strive to our best ability, not seeking too much, when doing everything with thought for others. We will never have to worry or be anxious about anything. The wind passing by, when it touches the mountainside, still returns. The years passing through a human life never return. Why still be obsessed with things past and make tomorrow miserable? Maybe today is very sad. Maybe tomorrow there will still be anxieties. Maybe yesterday was very joyful. But no one can return to yesterday to escape today's sadness or avoid tomorrow's anxiety. Leaving sorrows behind, putting anxieties down to walk on, is not an easy matter. Forgetting lost peace, forgetting past joys to walk on, is an even more difficult matter. One step forward, one step released. To be able to take one step forward, one must certainly leave one footprint behind. Thinking forever about things done, speaking forever about things past, remembering forever things lost, whether good or bad, is letting yesterday lock you in. Unable to escape a thought. Unable to walk past a step. Circling forever within it. Out there, time never stops for anyone. Everyone must walk, whether the steps are short or long. It is always very hard when deciding to give up something. But sometimes, that is the best thing we can do for ourselves. Poison and nectar both enter the body from the tongue. One harms the body. One helps the body be healthy. Untrue words harm people like poison. Sincere words to people are like nectar, both from the human tongue. Poison only harms one person. A lie not only hurts the sincerity of the speaker and saddens the listener but also makes a stranger uneasy. Someone unrelated who only happened to overhear. Just as when standing before a scene of tragic ruin in a strange place. Anyone will feel very heavy-hearted, even knowing that strange place has nothing to do with them. It is simply because of seeing something collapsed. Because of seeing something lost. Yesterday I went up the mountain to pick bamboo shoots. August here begins the mountain bamboo shoot season. Forest vegetables, mountain bamboo shoots, the sky's wind, for simple days, as peaceful as stone and as light as clouds. The mountains have many crepe myrtles, in August. The season of blooming crepe myrtles turns the distant mountainsides purple. Looking at the purple flower season of August, the heart feels peace, even knowing that flower season does not bloom for oneself. Amidst the busy human realm, hearing a sincere word between people, strangers to one another, the heart still feels peace. Even knowing that sincere word was not spoken to oneself. Every day sowing seeds of suffering. How can one find joy for oneself? Joy and sadness both begin from the seeds sown into life every day. When realizing that, one will naturally know how to cherish every small opportunity to do every wholesome deed. There are those who hurt themselves but blame life for hurting them. There are those who push themselves into loneliness with desolate, unfeeling thoughts but blame life for having no one by their side. You say today is very sad. In a very sad day, the best thing that can be done is not to do anything to make that day sadder. When no longer nourishing resentment and regret in the heart, peace will come naturally. From time immemorial, the human realm has always been as vast as the wide sea. Thoughts of anger and delusion in the heart will create fierce waves around one's life. Thoughts of compassion will create for oneself a small boat. The kind person relies on their own boat of compassion to peacefully cross the life that is like a wide sea. A very gentle smile of compassion is enough to change the whole world. Do you believe it? Actually, a gentle smile has never been enough to change the world out there. But it can completely change the whole world in one's own eyes. Because, when there is joy in the eyes, one will see life as very gentle. When there is listening in the ears, one will hear life as very quiet. When there is humanity in the heart, one will see life as very warm. When there is Buddha in the soul, one will see life as very compassionate. Also that vast life. Also those quickly fading years, for one who has a compassionate heart. They will create for themselves very beautiful peaceful days. If there is anything even more beautiful than those peaceful days, it can certainly only be the very warm gaze, the very gentle smile of the person who created those peaceful days along with them.